Wii Sports Resort has always been one of my favorite games. The addition of Wii Motion Plus made the controls exponentially more fun, and you can tell how much love and effort was poured into this game. It's one of those games I always come back to, whether to play with friends or just to reminisce. Like the time my sister managed to get a hole-in-one before I did.
Mom! I got a hole-in-one!
Keep in mind she got a +6 last hole, so this was crazy to me.
Oh my gosh.
This game can be just as fun when playing solo too, having achievements in each sport that can take quite a while to work towards. Wii Sports Resort refers to them as stamps, and it'll be how I refer to them the rest of the video. To those who haven't played Wii Sports Resort before or just don't remember, each sport has 5 different stamps you can earn. Whether it's scoring a perfect game in bowling, collecting all the eye points in Island Flyover, or beating a champion like Lucia, they all have their unique goals. But that's the skill ceiling, right? Sure, it might take months to get each stamp for a certain sport, but after that you've done the hardest challenge this island has to offer. You don't have to waste any more AA batteries. As someone who really wanted to make a YouTube video about Wii Sports Resort, I could not accept this. So I researched and developed a challenge I've yet to see anyone else fully document. I know this is a long intro, but before we get into the video, it's crucial to understand what this challenge is and why it's so difficult. Put simply, my goal is to earn all 5 stamps for each sport in just one run. AKA, I have to play perfectly or in a really silly way to fulfill all 5 goals. There are 3 kinds of stamps, with the first being challenge stamps. These are the ones I'm aiming for, and they include challenges such as bowling a perfect game or getting a hole-in-one. Then there are some stamps that I refer to as champion stamps. These are locked behind a certain skill level and are some of the most famous stamps because of the Miis you have to beat to earn them. Lucia, Matt, Tommy, I'm sure you've heard of them. Finally, there's a type of stamp that I like to call play stamps. These stamps are locked behind certain stages or just normal playtime, such as shooting 100 arrows in archery or clearing stage 10 on Swordplay Showdown. Due to their nature, it's impossible to earn champion stamps or play stamps in a single run, at least in my rule set since each run I'm using a new save file Mii. This brings the amount of sports possible from 20 to 7, with those 7 being bowling spin control, wakeboarding, frisbee golf, 100 pin bowling, 3-point basketball, table tennis return, and golf. Honestly, when I was writing for this video, I was both optimistic and incredibly nervous. Some of the sports on the list had notoriously hard stamps. Even though I was aware this was going to take a while, I was nowhere near prepared for how frustrating and time-consuming this challenge was actually going to be. Also, just for fun, I'll give each sport a rating out of 10. How frustrating it was, how challenging it was, and how long it took all go into the rating. With 1 being so easy I bet my cat could do it, and 10 making me want to explode into a million pieces after hours of restarted attempts. Finally, why Lucia? In my opinion, she is one of the most skilled Miis on the island, so I figured if anyone would do this challenge, it'd be her. I like to imagine she just got bored of beating everyone at table tennis and decided to master a few other sports just for fun. Anyway, enough yapping. Let's get this challenge started with the first sport on this list, bowling spin control. This sport was arguably the most fun out of the 7 I did. There was something about curving the ball around the barriers and pulling off some rather difficult shots that gave me a rush of dopamine. It was the perfect ratio of luck to skill. 2 of them require me to knock down the head pin every frame, but since another stamp requires me to get a strike or spare every frame, we can lump these 3 stamps together. The other 2 stamps aren't as forgiving though, with one needing a split spare and English major, meaning to put the spin on the ball to get 170 points without hitting a barrier. The game was kind enough not to require a perfect game, since that makes split spare impossible. That's also why normal bowling isn't on the list, since you can't get a perfect game and a split spare in the same run. Anyway, let's take a look at how the run went. Thankfully, I managed to get a split spare right off the bat. I've had a few runs where I make it to the end without getting a split spare, and somehow getting 4 stamps is way more disappointing than getting none at all. Briefly during the run, I tried finding a consistent way to get a split spare since there were many attempts that failed due to me missing them. I figured that if I could just get it out of the way at the start, my life would be much easier. It doesn't exist, there is no method. Also, before we get back to the run, English major? I'm not sure if anyone else cared, but I was very confused why the stamp was called that. And it honestly took me forever to find out why putting English on the ball meant putting spin on it. Some credit it to some famous bowlers using rather unconventional techniques at the time, while others credited the chalk English folk would use. On the other hand, maybe it was a misinterpretation of body English, which is bodily motions made in a usually unconscious effort to influence the progress of a propelled object. That would make sense with the ball, but English, the word itself, predated body English, so it couldn't be that. Also say that definition 10 times fast. After a bit of digging with my etymology hat on, the conclusion I reached, which I'll be honest, I'm not really fully convinced is the best I got, is that it's a mistranslation from the word anglais. I'm imagining a bunch of French and English fellas all bowling together, and the French one gets a strike and is like, "As-tu de l'anglais de cette chose?" Meanwhile, the English fellas are like, "Damn, we're so good that they use the word English to describe the spin of the ball." Or something like that. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that no one knows. I feel like that kind of makes the most sense, and even then it's like, eh. Anyway, let's take a look at the frame that ended over half my runs, frame 7. The barriers themselves pose a challenge, but the true vexation is how common it is to get a split spare here. Hitting it dead on is a perfect way to do that, so I try my best to curve my Wiimote at the last possible moment before releasing the ball at the highest point of my throw. It's precise, but not ridiculously so. I usually get it about 60% of the time. I was dangerously close this time, but a stray pin put it down, and I got past that frame without much problem. Frame 9 is another frame that's deceivingly difficult. I'm honestly surprised I got a strike here. I've had a few runs die here because of the barriers or a pin in the far left staying up. Frame 10 is a fun little victory lap though, and another chance to earn split spare if I hadn't earned it already. Now open your ears. You'll only get to hear this wonderful sequence of noises 6 more times. Ready?
It's a new... Excellent! Excellent! Congratulate! Excellent!
I will never tire of hearing that. The dates are old because this video has been a long time in the making, but here it is, and a taste of the challenge to come. I'd say this is the 4th hardest and a 5 out of 10. It's tied with table tennis for being the most fun though. I don't have any tips besides learning how to curve the ball, and going to the edge of the lane and curving 90% power or so is usually consistent with strikes. It was hard, but a fun kind of hard. One that I would recommend to anyone who finds this stuff interesting to try. The next sport though, anyone can do, and I'll show you why right now. Yes, that was a good transition. I'm good at the... This was by far the easiest sport, and the one that inspired the whole challenge. It was the first sport I realized you can earn all 5 stamps at once because of how easy the stamps were. 2 of them are point-based, with the requirements being over 1,000 points on the expert course without hitting a single obstacle, as well as a trick that earned the maximum possible score of 100. Another one required me to land 7 different kinds of jumps, as well as 10 jumps in a row without falling. Sounds difficult, but it's really not. But wait, isn't that 4 stamps? What about the 5th? Well, wakeboarding has a practice mode, which is 5 thrilling minutes of non-scoreable jumps around the island. The 5th stamp asks us to do 50 of them, and make it around the whole island before the timer expires. Whenever you do a jump, the boat gets an initial speed boost, and the cruising speed increases. Since you still get the speed boost even if you don't do the trick is to gain just enough height to trigger the speed boost. It saves, quote-unquote, an extra 5 to 10 seconds. While 50 jumps itself was trivial, the problem was not missing more than 5, as every failed jump slowed down your boat to the slowest possible speed. And it wouldn't be as challenging if Wiimotes didn't have motion control drift. I know it sounds crazy, but I swear it's true. In fact, I'd challenge you to hop on wakeboarding and see for yourself right now. After many successful jumps, you'll find that your grip on the Wiimote is wildly different from when it started. Almost uncomfortably so, to the point where you're bending in ways that should not happen during a video game. And now you missed a jump and are recalibrating the Wiimote and the pause menu. Personally, I found if you shake the Wiimote a lot during a single trick, like vigorously, it recalibrates it and removes the drift for a little bit. I had to do it about every 10 jumps or so. Otherwise, that's really the only challenging part other than just learning the course itself. I don't think anyone wants to watch 5 minutes of the same jump over and over, so I'll use my magic YouTube powers to speed this part up. Then I'll get back to the run. Getting 1,000 points is not difficult at all. The important part is to get 10 jumps in a row. I usually do it a couple times just to be safe and to make sure I got the 7 different kinds of jumps, but a little past halfway in the run I've found that I've already done everything I need to do. So while we wait, here's a silly interaction I found. If you crash into something right as the timer ends, your me will actually just drown. The boat will continue towing nothing behind it, and it's honestly pretty funny, although it would invalidate our run if I did it now, so I'll only show a clip of it. Literally nothing interesting happens in the last part of this run, so I'll speed it up too, using more of my magic YouTube power. Okay, it's not funny anymore, sorry.
Nice job. Whoa. Great air.
That's it though. Ready to hear the silly sounds of oh my god, it's a tongue twister. Ready to hear that silly chain of sounds again?
Excellent. You did. You did it. Excellent.
1 out of 10 on the difficulty scale on the 7th hardest. This was beyond easy. It took me 30 minutes. Actually, it's the first easiest 10 out of 10 on the easy scale. I think I did this 3rd while recording, and it gave me a false sense of security that this challenge would not be too bad. The next word's going to be a harsh reality check. Frisbee Golf. One of the most frustrating sports on this list for good reason. And one of the longest, so grab your popcorn. At the very least, it's easier than regular golf, mostly due to the fact that I have a giant beacon of light I need to hit rather than a small hole. Another difference is having 3 frisbees to choose from compared to the 8 clubs to pick from in golf. There are also less terrains that impact me, just safe and not safe. So it doesn't matter as much if I land in the bunker or the rough. Each stamp in this sport is pretty unique as well. Some play into each other a little bit, but not as forgiving as bowling or wakeboarding. Under par is the easiest, only requiring us to get 1 under par. Yawn. Honor roll is also pretty easy, just inconsistent at times to set up and get. I do it on as many holes as I can when I get the opportunity, just because I've gone a whole run and got 4 stamps, except that one. It was tragic. I don't even have the footage for it, because I streamed this instead of recording. Why did I do that? Hole in one is pretty self-explanatory and thankfully pretty easy with how big the holes are. The easy stamp stopped there though. Lucky skip sounded impossible when I first routed this video, but after some research I learned that, unfortunately, it is indeed possible. To earn the stamp, I have to skip the frisbee across water and have it land safely on the other side. The last stamp though is straight and narrow, which requires me to play through the 18-hole course without going out of bounds once. At first I thought that would conflict with the lucky skip stamp, since I'd have to throw my frisbee into the water, but I found out that it has to count as a water hazard for me to fail the stamp, and just touching the water was okay. So how was I going to do this? I thought about trying to purposefully skip it across the water on some random hole, but each try I found it way too annoying and borderline impossible. The game just would not let me throw the frisbee into the water. I can't really say I'm surprised. I knew this was possible though because I had done it before, but every time I had it was an accidental throw. So I went back to the drawing board. What holes had water, or at least water that was skippable? Hole 1 did, but for some stupid reason they put a grate over the whole pond. Stupid, don't they know I need to skip a frisbee? Hole 7, 9, 11. These had good locations, but we're pretty deep into the game. I mean, imagine playing for 10 minutes just to throw a frisbee into the water? God forbid. As frustrating as it'd be, hole 2 was the best answer. If the wind was bad, it was a restart. Bad throw, restart. Didn't skip right, restart. My god, it took forever. But I eventually found a semi-consistent way of throwing to get a run every 30 minutes or so. That was just the beginning though. I still had 16 more holes to go, still needed a hole in one, and I couldn't get any out of bounds or water hazards. Also, for some reason, my laptop audio recorded during this run, so you get to hear me in the moment during some clips. Excuse my language, but I was nearing my breaking point. For now though, I'll let the run play out and comment on a few important holes. Also, one final thing, I'll speed up some holes since this video would be 30 times longer if I just let the whole run play out. Okay, nap session over. Dude, I'm
Great par.
This is for the honor roll stamp, and the most consistent way I've found is to angle the camera so the side of the hole is on the corner of the screen, then hold my Wiimote upright almost and flick it towards the hole so it rolls. Sometimes it bounces, sometimes it floats, and sometimes it completely misses, but usually it rolls.
Fucking finally. This is gonna be my last run.
You can hear how frustrated I was getting after the lucky skip stamp. I had said that this was going to be my final run about 3 times that day.
Good birdie.
Hole 3 is a good time to talk about wins. On each difficulty course, being 3 holes, 9 holes, and 18 holes, the winds gradually get more extreme, with the 18-hole course going up to 20-mile-per-hour winds. It's random each hole and can completely destroy a run if it's not in my favor. About 80% of my runs, I always had crazy south winds, and while it wasn't like detrimental to the run or anything, it was so incredibly slow and unbelievably frustrating. I'll mention the winds again when they become relevant, but it's something to look out for on each hole when you're watching. I will say the winds aren't always bad. Sometimes I get a good north wind that pushes my Frisbee way farther than it would have gone, and it makes for some nice eagles. Okay, emotional. Imagine if I actually reset this run and never completed it.
Good birdie.
That's not how it is gonna come out. Right behind the tree.
Good par.
And, dude, I just don't get it. That is not where I threw it. Not where my B button was.
Great par.
Oh my god. I really thought I threw it off there.
You have no idea how many times I've checked this Frisbee straight into the water.
Good birdie.
Oh yes, the infamous 20-mile-per-hour winds. This time it's going north, which normally I wouldn't complain about, but as you can see, there is a giant body of water right in front of me. I have to get a hole-in-one, or this is going right into the water.
I think I curved it. Ooh, he's going.
Hole in one.
Yippee! That checks off the hole-in-one stamp. It is about here, though, that I begin to get anxious because now this is a legitimate run. There's still 10 more holes to go, though, so anything could happen. I just have to remain calm and focused. Calm and focused. Calm.
Great birdie.
Wow. Oh my god. I hate. You can go farther than 90.
Great par.
If I... No, that could have been a really easy match.
Good birdie.
It's also about
Great par.
Can you fucking throw?
Damn, Lucia. She is selling crazy style.
Hole in one.
Down.
Good birdie. Great par. Great par.
Hole 17. The most awful hole ever constructed. I am positive the straight and narrow stamp was created solely with this hole in mind. Going uphill is always inconsistent with a Frisbee, combined with narrow platforms, water all around you, and wind that is somehow always 20 miles per hour south. Wait, let me check the wind.
10 mile per hour winds.
That's not too bad. Still though, I putter up until I'm confident my driver will make it across, but there have been plenty of runs of, well...
Oh my god, I think I messed it up. Oh, please. No. Fuck. Oh my god, that fell off right there. I would have lost my fucking mind. Alright, this should be an easy shot. Oh yeah, I made that. Oh god. Look, that didn't even get close to the hole though. 21 years away. Or was it 160 meters? With 10 mile per hour wind. I don't like to say meters to with yards. Okay, we're on the last hole. Dude, if I mess this up, I'm throwing my Wiimote like into a freezer, letting it freeze, and then throwing it on concrete. Oh my god, 20 mile per hour winds.
Of course, the final hole has 20 mile per hour winds. Why not? At least it's not in a bad direction. The hole itself looks a lot more intimidating than it is with the elevation changes, but if you just use the map as a distance guide, it becomes a lot easier. I'm also 10 under par, so I have plenty of room to work with since I only need to be 1 under par to get the under par stamp. Say that 10 times fast. And now you get to hear my embarrassing reaction. This was the only live audio I have though, so you only have to bear through it once.
It's over. This challenge is
Good
over.
birdie.
It's over. Oh my god. Dude, this has taken so long. I cannot wait to see these 5 stamps. Wow, 686.
Excellent. Congratulations. Excellent. Excellent.
Yes!
And muted. Enough of that fella. Easily a 7 out of 10 on the difficulty scale, and the second hardest in the challenge. I cannot believe we've only done 3 sports. It feels like way more. Imagine bowling, but considerably less fun. Welcome to 100 pin bowling. It's so bad I don't even have any other footage recorded. It's just the 5 stamp run. So sorry to the 7 fans out there, but I'm gonna have the run play in the background while I talk about it. I might just be a hater, but this is one of my least favorite sports in the game. Maybe it's how luck-based it feels or how I'd rather just play normal bowling. I'm just not a fan. Thankfully the stamps aren't too hard for this one, and this was actually the first sport I did when recording. Mostly just to get it over with. 3 of the stamps involve getting a strike in some way, and the other 2 should be familiar. Pin dropper, which is getting a strike or spare on every frame, and split spare makes an appearance again. Unsurprisingly, getting a split spare is pretty common, and it's not too terrible to get the spare. This sport has a gimmick though, which makes the challenge much easier, and it also counts as a stamp. The button strike is a guaranteed way to knock all the pins down, and also completes 2 of the strike stamps, Super Strike and Secret Strike. Apparently in the run I was pretty checked out, but after a bit of confusion I move on to the final strike stamp, which is off the wall. As the name brilliantly suggests, you have to bounce the ball against the wall and get a strike. I've found that if you don't move and aim right about here, it's semi-consistent in getting a strike. The rest of the time I'm just trying to get a split, which I found by aiming just a little differently here produces semi-consistent splits.
Nice one.
Finally frame 7 though I managed to get one, so now the rest of the time I just have to hit the button strike. Easy. I mean, I'm pretty much finished this. But, oh. Well, you know what they say. Actually, I don't think they say anything about this. Keep calm and bowl on. Sounds like a poster you'd see in Ivers. These are, what is this even? Bowlers never die. They just end up in the gutter. What does that mean? Sorry for what I said during league night. Do bowlers actually say this? Like, is this am I just not tapped in? Anyway, unfortunately, my recording software decided to have a stroke and it only recorded the audio towards the end. At least only the picture is messed up and not the audio, so we can still hear this wonderful sound.
It's a new. Excellent. You did it. Congratulations.
It was about 4 out of 10 difficulty, 6th hardest. I mean, if you like 100-pin bowling, you might find this fun, but I don't, so I didn't. Actually, to be honest, a lot of these sports I did like at first, and now I'm kind of burnt out, so maybe that was the case. This is a sport I thought was going to be much easier, but was way more frustrating than I thought. Honestly, most of these sports could be completed a lot faster if I had a little more patience, but after doing them for hours on end, patience is hard to come by. The stamps for this one mostly involve scoring all 25 balls with 15 seconds left on the clock. Actually, those are the only requirements for getting all stamps in one run. Pretty straightforward. It's actually just the normal challenge the game offers. Wasn't this supposed to be the hardest Wii Sports Resort challenge? Oh well, it met the requirements of the challenge, so I'm doing it. I've found that laying my elbow on something like a chair helps consistently flick the Wiimote. Give me my Wiimote back. And it's what I did to make all the shots. I know there's a way to curve it around my head and it makes it every time or whatever, but I tried a few times and it just didn't feel comfy. I'll just let the run play out, as it's pretty entertaining seeing my shots progressively get more shaky. You can definitely tell I got a bit nervous with the last few shots, and honestly I didn't know that it played a silly animation for doing a perfect game. I've never actually done it before.
It's in. Count it. What a shot. Nailed it. Unbelievable. It's a new. Excellent. You did. Excellent. Congratulations.
This one is rather short though, and there's not a whole lot to say about it. 6 out of 10 challenge and 5th hardest. It wasn't a very unique challenge, so I don't really have much to say about it. The next one though, I did not think was possible. Now would be a good time to say that I'm technically not the first person to ever do this challenge, but I'm the first one to do it in a video like this. I'm also the first to record it for Frisbee Golf and the 2 bowling ones, at least from my research, though I'm sure it's been done by someone bored out there. This was quite an adventure though, because I originally thought this was going to be the hardest sport of the challenge. The stamps are borderline insanity, and if it wasn't due to the way the game behaves, I might have quit the challenge right here. 3 of the stamps are point stamps, 50, 100, and 200. That's the easy part. Strap in, because this is going to be quite an explanation. Recycler requires me to hit 30 cans, which start spawning on the table at 10 points and award 3 points each. They can either be on the left or right side of the table. Not bad, right? Well, unfortunately all my hopes and dreams were crushed when I remembered this sport's most notorious stamp, save face. In case you weren't aware, me's have feelings too, and Greg, our server, is especially sensitive. This stamp requires me not to hit his face once for 100 points. To quote the stamp itself, get a score of 100 points or more without the ball ever hitting the server's face, even if it just takes a bad bounce off a can. Your opponent will appreciate the effort. Opponent? Greg is our friend. Well, maybe more of an acquaintance after this. When I was writing this video, I was dreading this segment. Scoring 200 points, hitting 30 cans, all while avoiding Greg's face? This is gonna take forever. After a few attempts, I went back to my computer. Somehow, someone out there has already done this specific sport and even posted a video about it. It was about 9 years ago by Ziploc13. Was there a hidden technique I didn't know about? An exploit? Maybe it's edited? But then I noticed something peculiar. Greg was getting hit. But Ziploc waited until after the 100-point threshold before hitting him. This game handles how stamps are earned in a very interesting way, and I'll try my best to explain my theory of it. During the match, the game must constantly check whether or not you've completed a stamp, and once you've met the requirements, you've earned the stamp. So by avoiding hitting Greg's face for the first 100 points, I'd have earned the stamp, since it states that I have to earn a score of 100 points or more, which I did. Since I can't lose the stamp I've already earned, it doesn't matter if I hit him past 100 points, making this challenge way more realistic and, dare I say, fun. Here's a graphic I just drew up. I'm not an artist, but hopefully it gets the point across. And I guess I'm not really sure how else the game would handle stamps. I always just assume it checked at the end or something, but that can't be the case. I also might just be completely wrong, so feel free to correct me in the comments. I'm genuinely interested in this kind of stuff, I just don't really know how to go about looking into the game's code or whatever. Anyways, as you can see, I only hit about 6 or 7 cans in the early part of the match, since I'd rather just not risk hitting his face and having to start again. Also, I'm saying that because I did that about 60% of the time and I got so frustrated. Past that, it's just hitting cans. There's virtually no way to get 30 cans without hitting the 200 points, so I really wasn't worried about that. As per usual, I'll speed up the parts that would make this video 30 times longer if I kept them in. Now fuck Greg, I'm hitting all the cans I want. I'm sorry Greg, I didn't mean it. I could have gone higher. Actually, when I was recording some extra footage, I got to like 450. I remember being like 13 and the highest I could get was like 100. So this was pretty impressive to me.
It's a new. Excellent. You. Excellent. You. Congratulations.
It's like 4 marshmallows out of 10, and while it's the 4th hardest, I'd argue to say that this was the most fun out of the 7 sports. Maybe it's because I love table tennis, but there was something incredibly satisfying about the whole process. Other than not hitting Greg, that part sucked. Nothing against the guy, it's just that 100 points is a lot slower than you think. Anyways, it's time for the grand finale. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. The crowning jewel of the hardest Wii Sports Resort challenge, golf. Each sport took a decent amount of time, but golf was by far the longest. I added up how long the footage was for each sport and, well, you can see for yourself. I could combine the length of every other sport and it would barely be longer than just golf on its own. Horrible, just awful, and I'm a golf fan. Probably my second favorite sport actually, just behind table tennis. The stamps of golf show the true nature of this challenge, requiring mastery of every single hole and how each individual club works, as well as wind speeds and terrain. Not only that, but the power, angle, and spin on each swing had to be taken into account, as well as the pin position on the green. Oh my god. 3 of the stamps tie into each other, requiring me to get 18 under par. Yeah, that's right, 18. I have to score at least a birdie on every single hole, but it doesn't stop there. Hole-in-one makes an appearance again, and while there aren't any beacons of light on this golf course, we can borrow the power of speedrunners to make my life considerably easier. I'll explain more when it happens. The last stamp is just as difficult, requiring a chip in. This just means using a wedge outside of the green to put the ball into the hole. It can't be on the green or the fringe, and I can't use a putter. And no, a hole-in-one does not count as a chip in. Yikes. I saved this one for last because I knew it was going to be the hardest, and I was right. It was, oh my god, it was horrible. I won't comment on every hole, but this will still be the longest segment because you'll see. Let's get right into it though on the hole that is permanently engraved into my mind because I've been on it so many times. I'll briefly touch on wins again since it's a little bit different than Frisbee
Solid
Golf.
shot.
They're still important, but not as detrimental since a tiny ball is a lot less influenced by winds than a big flat Frisbee. They do have the power to make an eagle possible on some holes and also the power to completely ruin some shots. The first example I can think of is hole 16 because I have to go through a forest, and having unpredictable winds could cause me to land out of bounds and ruin the run. At hole 16, by the way, 30 plus minutes in. That happened twice.
Green.
Now that we're on hole 2 though, I can explain the hole-in-one stamp better. There are a few documented cases of people doing this challenge only on this sport, and while watching Nitros run, it seemed like he was referencing some kind of document. So after asking in the Wii Sports speedrunning Discord, Benson revealed the hidden sauce. A Google spreadsheet of all known consistent hole-in-ones. It was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I had one less stamp to worry about. I mostly just used the spreadsheets for par 3s, and while I only ever did get one hole-in-one on hole 2, it definitely made for some easier putts. I might even submit my own videos and fill in a few blanks once I find the courage to sift through 22 hours of footage spread across a few different flash drives. Soon, I swear.
Hole-in-one. Great shot. Great eagle.
Did you see that? The run almost ended right there. Reminds me of that almost reset I did during Frisbee Golf on the same hole. The only logical solution is this hole must be cursed.
Great shot.
Not even close. Maybe this challenge would have gone quicker if I actually just locked in on my putts.
Great. Solid shot.
I could have done a right chip, but I like using a wood here. It just feels more consistent. I don't really mind getting a par on this hole either. It's pretty difficult. You forget what I said about me being bad at putts. I'm locked in.
Great shot. Good. Good.
7 under is not the best, but I've had runs where I was 6 or 5 under, so it definitely could be worse. I needed to start taking some risks though, and while the map says we can't make it, by taking the elevation into account, I think we just have enough to barely get across, probably. Could not have gone better, and I've learned from the mistake on hole 5 too. As that one fella says, I understand it now.
Great.
Time for the back nine.
Nice shot. Great. Great.
Stupid fucking putt, stupid game, awful, horrible. Hate this, stupid.
Great.
I could be wrong, but this is the only hole where I overshot it. It's the perfect opportunity for a chip in though. Whatever, didn't want that
Nice
stupid
approach.
chip in. God, stupid game.
Great. Solid shot. Nice
Oh shit,
chip for
I did
eagle.
it. This is a run. I can end it right here. Oh my god, I'm so nervous. I've already choked so many other runs. I won't choke this one.
Nice shot. Great. Solid shot.
Yes!
Great eagle.
Yes! That could not have been more perfect. Ugh, I'm getting flashbacks. The wind is not helping either. you, hole 17. This shot, the wins, everything. Finally, hole 18, and I don't even need a birdie. I was still playing a bit risky here, but I live for the thrill.
Great shot. Good birdie.
And finally, this challenge is over. The hardest challenge Woohoo Island has to offer. 5 stamps, 1 run. It's time to hear this wonderful sequence of sounds one last time.
It's a... You did... Congratulations. Excellent. You did it. Congratulations.
Yikes, October? What day is it? Like February? I wasn't lying when I said this video had taken a while to make. To the surprise of absolutely no one, this is the hardest challenge out of the 7 sports I've done. 10 out of 10, first hardest. Wow. But there you have it. The hardest Wii Sports Resort challenge I can think of, other than like speedrunning, I guess. I briefly thought about doing this as like a speedrun or something, but no. This took me 50 hours to complete, and while I think I could cut that time down in half with everything I've learned, a 25-hour speedrun is, well, not something I want to do. Maybe in a future video if this does well or something, but I have plenty other videos planned before that. This has been a huge passion project that's taken nearly half a year, and I'm so happy you made it to this point. From the bottom of my heart, seriously, thank you for watching.